In a previous burst video, I talked about agency and how when we make our own decision to learn something, rather than be made to learn it by our teacher or parent, we learn more and find more enjoyment. But if you're like me, your mind often goes to that place of, I don't understand why I need to know this. Or you get that feeling inside of being forced to do something. Or you might find yourself coming into class with your friends and you just don't want to set your mind to the work your teacher has because other things are on your mind. We know that this away response to learning sets us up to learn less and have that learning be less enjoyable, maybe even miserable. We need a strategy to trigger our toward response. Reappraisal is just such a strategy. In order to reappraise or rethink the situation, the first step is we have to catch ourselves. In fact, with almost any improvement in learning, the first step is awareness. Catch our harmful patterns. To develop awareness, we have to activate our director. Remember, the director is that part of us who can see ourselves from a third-person perspective. The director notices that one of the actors is out of place or even out of character, and in order to keep the scene on track, she steps in. The second step is the director has to help us get back in character. Here is where a quick internal dialogue is helpful, but it really needs to be quick. Otherwise, we do something called rumination, where our mind keeps running over and over why we don't like the topic in class or the task to be completed. With reappraisal, the director helps us see the scene in a different light. Rather than viewing the tasks as burdensome, the director helps us to see some value in it. If you play a sport, you know that practicing a movement over and over is not always enjoyable, but that repeated practice of an isolated skill makes performing in competition more automatic. This same principle works in academic learning. Mastery requires initial deep practice, followed by repetition to strengthen the neural pathways, making future learning more fluid. When we acknowledge our frustration, say to ourselves, I'm wanting to avoid this, then reappraise and say, this might be helpful down the road, or practicing this again will strengthen my neural pathway, or if I look interested, my teacher will respond more positively when grading my next test. We find a reason for moving toward learning rather than away from it. Here are the steps, simplified. 1, catch ourselves avoiding the learning. 2, acknowledge where our mind is. 3, put a more positive and beneficial spin on it. And 4, re-engage with more intentional attention. Once we get good at awareness, these 4 steps can happen in less than 3 seconds. When we take agency of our learning, we learn more, get better grades, and best of all, we enjoy learning more because we are not fighting against those forces, teachers and parents, who we once felt were making us do something. This is from Burst, where we are inspiring young people to engage, persist, and ultimately flourish in school and life.